Welcome back to Ozarks Tonight. Well, one of our guests that we were having on our show regularly, but have kind of gotten out of the habit since the COVID-19 pandemic, Sarah Burr of the Springfield Art Museum is joining us on the show today. And Sarah, it's been a while since we've touched base, and there's a couple topics we want to hit. But first of all, how has the Springfield Art Museum, been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic? Let's go way back to March, whenever there were stricter restrictions put in place here in Springfield. How has the Springfield Art Museum been able to cope with the pandemic so far?
We're doing okay. Obviously, we were closed, like everyone was for quite a while. We were closed till about June 3rd. So we had an exhibition that was supposed to open the week of the shutdown, which obviously didn't open then, but we were able to extend that show, and that was our framed exhibition, which just recently closed. But we had to do some shuffling, but most of our shows still went up, just maybe a little later than normal, and we reopened June 3rd. And we've had reduced capacity, but we still have people coming in. Obviously, lots of safety protocols, obviously mask wearing. But we've been excited to be able to open and to still show our exhibitions. We're not doing any extra programming because of the capacity limits, which is a little sad for us. Some of our big events like 99 Times had to be canceled, but we are open and we are still a place that you can come, especially a pretty safe place, I think, right now, because we have lots of square footage and lots of room. So if you just need to get out of the house, it's a pretty safe place to go and look at some beautiful art and maybe decompress. But otherwise, we're okay. I mean, we didn't have to lay off any staff. We had to do some shuffling, obviously, with schedules and things like that, but we're weathering okay, fortunately, and we are open and glad to be open.
And for sure, with the weather kind of getting nasty like it's been the last couple of days here in Springfield, a great place to be indoors where you're safely, socially distanced. And you get to look at some great art as well. Just talk a little bit more about some of the challenges that the art museum had to overcome to get to the point where it was safe to have people in again and looking at some of the exhibits, even though it is a limited capacity.
Obviously, well, some of the things we had to do were deep cleaning and figuring out our square footage and figuring out how we could work with traffic flow to make sure that when you do come in, people can be distanced. We fortunately have the space to kind of work around that. I think the biggest impact was how it affected the way we mount exhibitions. Like the show we're going to talk about now with from the National Portrait Gallery is a traveling exhibition. So there were a lot of changes that had to be made from how we normally would have received the shipments and how we normally would be working with our partner organizations. That had to look a lot different, and we had to do a lot more virtual things than normal. And then also there's just added stress because normally our teams work pretty closely together in close quarters, and we had to find ways to balance that safely and stagger shifts. And so that was probably the bigger change to our workflow. But obviously it did take some time to figure out how traffic patterns would work, how we would make sure that the museum was safe and clean and people could be in the space.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things people are longing for more than anything is just to return to some sort of sense of normalcy. So let's do that now. Let's talk about the new exhibit that just opened up at the Art Museum. It's called Eye to Eye. Describe what Eye to Eye is all about for folks and why they should come out and check it out.
So it's an incredible exhibition. It's about 58 pieces, and it's on loan from the National Portrait Gallery, the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. They mounted the show last year at their site, and now it's been traveling. And so we were scheduled to get it always at this time, and we're really excited about it. But it features 58 different self-portraits from artists going back all the way to 1901 up until 2015. And it has a huge range of media. So there's photographs and video, paintings, there's sculpture. And it's really just looking at how do artists perceive themselves and how have they translated that to an artistic medium over the years, and how has that changed, which I think is really, really interesting now, since so many of us are self-portraitists. We all have that cell phone where we can take a selfie. I think the idea of how you portray yourself in media is much more obvious all of the time, but then also maybe a little more layered. So this is really showing us how artists have done that and how that medium of the self-portrait has changed. And the earlier pieces in the show are more like photographs or paintings, and as we get later into the more contemporary works, there are symbolic portraits that are sculpture, and there's video, and there's a lot of new media in the show.
Really quickly, Sarah, what's your, what's one of your favorite things about this exhibit when you go through and look?
I think there's two things. So one of it is that we're able to show work by artists that we don't have in our collection. So that's really exciting. So you don't have to go to Washington, D.C. to see these incredible portraits. They're here in Springfield, which is really exciting since it's much more stressful to travel right now. So you don't have to travel to see these pieces. So there's work that I don't normally get to see in our galleries, which I'm excited about. And then also we do have work by some of these artists. So I've pulled pieces from our collection, and those are installed in our permanent collection exhibit to correspond. So you can see a self-portrait by, say, Roger Shimomura, and then you can go in the back of the galleries and see a different work by Roger Shimomura, which is another layer that's really exciting to me to think about how artists portray themselves and then how they make their other work, to kind of see how their practice is a little deeper than just the self-portrait.
All right, and really quickly before we let you go, for folks at home that are wanting to come out and see the exhibit, how can they learn more? What resources are available? And, how can they get a trip to the Springfield Art Museum on their schedule?
So we're open our normal hours, so Tuesday through Sunday, generally 10 to 6 most days. We're open late on Thursdays till 8. Please wear a mask, and if you don't feel comfortable doing so, you can still go to our Facebook page, and we will be posting photographs of the installation, and there's more information about some of the works on our website and on Facebook. So if you don't feel comfortable coming out, you can still see some of the works.
All right. The curator of art at the Springfield Art Museum, Sarah Burr, joining us on the show today. Sarah, good to have you on. Hopefully it won't be as long before we get to talk to you again. And we're glad that you all are making the most of a tough situation here with the pandemic.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in person.
All right. Yes, I do need to come out and check it out. All right. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more Ozarks Tonight right after this.
Thank you.